you want to stay in New Zealand permanently, the rules are about to change. And some of these changes will open doors that didn't exist before, others will close them. And if you're not paying attention, you could be planning around rules that no longer apply. So the SMC, the skilled migrant category, is going to be changing in late August of this year. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through every confirmed change to the skilled migrant category. So there's going to be 2 new residence pathways, an updated qualification points system, reduced work experience requirements, simplified wage rules, red and amber occupation lists, and what you should be doing right now to prepare. So there's going to be no speculation, no hype, no fancy edits, just the confirmed changes straight from the Immigration New Zealand website and announcements in September last year and March of this year. So who am I and why should you listen to me? So my name is Pat. I'm a fully licensed immigration advisor based here in Auckland, New Zealand, and I run a family practice called NZ Immigration Help Service that has been operating for 20 years. We've been fortunate to assist over 18,000 clients from temporary visas all the way to citizenship, and my family went through the full immigration process ourselves. So my grandparents made the move to New Zealand in the early 90s, and then I came with my mother in the early 2000s. We went from temporary visas to years-long pathway, the whole journey from arriving to becoming residents and eventually citizens. So I've been through the system as a migrant myself, and now I work inside as a licensed advisor. So that combination hopefully shapes everything about how I help people plan their pathways. So I work with people outside New Zealand and inside New Zealand. I help skilled professionals, skilled workers, students, employers, and families across a wide range of visa categories. The SMC is only one of the pathways I help clients with every day. So to give us a bit of context, what is the SMC? So the skilled migrant category is New Zealand's main residence pathway for skilled migrants. So if you're on an AEWV, an accredited employer work visa, and want to stay permanently, this is your likely route. So to apply, you must be 55 or younger, you must have a job or job offer with an accredited employer in a skilled role. Now, an accredited employer is essentially a New Zealand business, a New Zealand employer who is recognized with Immigration New Zealand to hire overseas talent. You also must score 6 skilled residence points, meet English requirements, health and character requirements, and this is quite a long-lasting resident visa. It's been around for multiple years, if not decades, and the government has announced changes, as said, last year, 2025, with further details confirmed in March 2026. So all changes are expecting to be taking into effect in late August of this year. But one thing I do just want to note is that this session covers general information. It does not substitute immigration advice specific to your situation. I do recommend you speak to someone like myself to help plan your pathway properly. But what is actually changing? So the first thing that is going to be changing is the added 2 new pathways, the skilled work experience pathway, as well as the trades and technicians pathway. That is for skilled workers who may not hold a degree. The second change is more points for New Zealand qualifications. So NZ qualifications generally earn 1 extra point over overseas equivalents. The only exception to this is the doctoral degrees and some master's degrees. The third is going to be reduced work experience. So a maximum of NZ work experience drops from 3 years to 2 years for most pathways. There's going to be a simplified wage assessment. So no more wage increase required at residence. Maintain the median wage when you started. And I'll dive into each one of these later on. The third to last thing is the red and amber list. So think of a traffic light system, the red, orange, and green. Previously, we've implemented the green list, which is effectively the green symbol on the traffic light. Now they're going to be introducing the orange, the amber, and the red lists to accompany the full traffic light system. So certain occupations do face restrictions or even inclusions from the new pathways. Now, the sixth change is the new AEWV extension ability. So this is going to be coming in 2027. It's going to be affecting those who perhaps already have a AEWV, who are looking to extend their time to finish up their work experience requirement. Now, the last change is other updates, including the English test validity extension, a new accountant registration recognized, and qualification clarifications. So, I'm going to introduce you to the first new pathway under the skilled migrant category. This is called the skilled work experience pathway. Now, this is a brand new route for residents, for skilled workers who may not hold a degree. This is the first time relevant work experience without a degree or registration or high income can qualify you. Now, in order to meet the requirements of this, you need to be working in an ANSCO skill level 1 to 3 role. So for those who don't know, the ANSCO stands for the Australian New Zealand Standard Classifications of Occupations List. Long story short, it's a metric system used to determine the level, the skill level, or the complexity of a job based on how skilled the job is. So in other words, skill level 1 is considered the highest skill role, and skill level 5 is considered the lowest skill role. So if you find yourself working in a skilled role at ANSCO skill level 1 to 3, you appear to qualify. The second requirement is you need to have at least 5 years of directly relevant skilled work experience, which can include overseas experience. The only thing is 2 of those years need to be at least in New Zealand. So at least 2 of those 5 years you needs to be in New Zealand. You also need to be paid at or above 1.1 times the median, the SMC median wage throughout the NZ work period. Now, you must not also be included in the red list occupation. And don't worry, I'm going to be explaining the red list, the amber list as well. But you must not be in a red list occupation. If you find your occupation included in the amber list, you do have additional requirements for this category. So I'm going to be explaining that again below. So effectively, this pathway is massive because before if you did not have a degree, registration, or earning a certain amount, you had no realistic path to residence through the skilled migrant category. Now that changes in August of this year. So the second pathway, so we've looked at the skilled work experience pathway. The second new pathway is for trades and technicians, for specific trades and technicians. So this is designed for tradespeople and technicians who hold a level 4 or higher qualification in their field. So Immigration New Zealand has published a separate list of eligible occupations for this pathway. Now, in order to be approved a visa like this, you need to be working in one of the specified trades or technician roles, which is again within the ANSCO skill level 1 to 3 system. You need to hold a relevant level 4 or higher qualification of at least 120 points on the New Zealand qualifications framework. You need to have at least 4 years of post-qualification experience directly relevant to the work that you're applying for. And out of those 4 years, you need to have at least 18 months of that experience in New Zealand. You also need to be paid at or above the SMC median wage throughout the NZ work period. So I just want you to notice the difference. The wage threshold here is 1.0 times the median wage, effectively the median wage, not 1.1 times. So this is a lower bar than the skilled work experience pathway, but you need a relevant qualification. So that's the most important thing to remember for this. So in terms of qualifications, NZ qualifications are now worth more. The updated points table generally rewards qualifications gained in New Zealand with 1 additional point over their overseas equivalents. Now, there are a few exceptions. Doctoral degrees are the same regardless of any country. Overseas qualifications must have an IQA from NZQA or be on the LQEA. So the IQA, the International Qualifications Assessment, is conducted by the NZQA, the New Zealand Qualifications Authority, and it is essentially a translation service to compare the comparability of your qualification that you gained overseas to New Zealand standards. So in other words, is your qualification that you gained overseas the same level as it is in New Zealand? So essentially, and again, if you have a bachelor's degree outside New Zealand, is that going to be a bachelor's degree level in New Zealand? You do not have to do this if you are on the list of qualifications exempt from assessment, the LQEA. So make sure you should check if your qualification is included in that list. If it's not, you don't have to do. If it's not on that list, then you do have to do the IQA. But if it isn't, then you need to consider doing the IQA for this. So the points-based system, the new settings I have here, I have a table here explaining all of the changes. You can claim 6 points if you have a doctoral degree in any country, if you have a master's degree a New Zealand master's degree with a bachelor's degree from any country, if you have a New Zealand recognized registration that requires at least 6 years of training, or if you're earning 3 times the median wage, you can claim 6 points. You do not need to have any New Zealand work experience to reach those 6 points. If you have any of these, you do not need work experience. All you need is to meet the other requirements for the visa, health, character, and also an acceptable job from an accredited employer. Once you have those, then you can apply straight away. If you have an overseas master's degree with a bachelor's, if you have a New Zealand master's degree without a bachelor's, if you have a New Zealand honours, postgraduate diploma, certificate, each with a bachelor's, or have a bachelor's degree from New Zealand, or have a New Zealand recognized registration that requires at least 5 years of training, you can claim 5 points. And you can get the additional point from 1 year of skilled work experience in New Zealand. So the same is true for these 2 columns here. 4 points if you've got an overseas honours, postgraduate diploma, postgraduate certificate, each with a bachelor's, overseas bachelor's degree, an NZ recognized registration that requires at least 4 years of training, or earning 2 times the median wage. All you need is 1.5 years on a acceptable work visa in order to get the additional points needed to bring you up to the 6-point requirement. So remember, you need to get 6 points plus an acceptable job or job offer. Now, if you have a New Zealand registration, recognized registration that requires at least 2 years of training or earning 1.5 times the median wage, then all you need is 2 years of skilled work experience in New Zealand to be eligible for 6 points. Again, all you need is 6 points plus an acceptable job from an accredited employer. The key changes: if you claim points for a level 8 or 9 qualification, which again is a postgraduate certificate, postgraduate diploma, honors, or master's, you must hold a bachelor's degree. Now again, this bachelor's degree can be from any country. It does not have to be from New Zealand. A doctoral degree is level 10, so this rule does not apply to them. The only exception is a New Zealand master's degree claiming 5 points if you do not have a bachelor's degree. Also note, to claim 6 points for a New Zealand master's degree, you must have studied full-time for at least 30 weeks in New Zealand and hold a bachelor's degree, which again can be from any country. The other change is essentially for work experience, there is less time towards residence. So the required NZ work experience has been reduced across quite a few pathways. So here is how the before and after compare. All right. So before, if you have 4 points, you need 2 years of skilled work experience. If you've got 3 points, all you need is 3 years of NZ work experience. The maximum work experience required is up to 3 years. Now in the current setting, if you've got 4 points, you only need 1.5 years of skilled work experience in New Zealand. Same is true for 3 points. If you have 3 points, all you need is 2 years of NZ work experience. So the maximum work experience required is up to 2 years. So to better understand this, remember you need 6 points to qualify for the SMC. Some of those points come from your qualification, your registration, your income. The rest come from your work experience that you get in New Zealand. The table above shows how long you need to work in New Zealand to make up the difference. So for example, if you hold an overseas bachelor's degree, that gives you 4 points. Under the current rules, you need 2 years of NZ work experience to reach 6 points. Under the new updated settings in August, you only need to have 1.5 years of skilled work experience. That's effectively 6 months less time before you can apply for residence. So if you're in a role earning 1.5 times the median wage, which is 3 points, the change is even bigger. The current requirement is 3 years of NZ work experience. Under the new settings, that drops to 2 years, saving you a complete year. The only path where the work experience stays the same is at 5 points. So for example, a New Zealand bachelor's degree, that still requires 1 year of NZ work experience under both the current and new settings. So hopefully that clarified it there. So the 2 significant changes towards the simplified wage assessment is as followed. No more wage reassessment at residence. So under the current rules, your wage is assessed twice, once at the start of your work experience and again when you apply for residence. If the median wage has increased between those 2 points, you must meet the higher rate of residence. That second check is being removed effectively. Under the new settings, you only need to maintain the median wage that applied when you started gaining skilled work experience. The wage is no longer reassessed at the point of residence, of your residence application. So that's the first significant change that we see towards wages. The second is the 5-month grace period. So if the SMC median wage increases after your work experience is granted, but before you start work, you won't be penalized. So if you begin work within 5 months of your visa being granted, the wage threshold that applied on the day your visa was granted will be used. So this removes essentially risk. So under the current rules, if the median wage does increase during your work experience period, you could qualify at the start but fail the wage check at the residence application. And again, that second check is now effectively gone. And so I just want to also now introduce you to the red and amber list. Again, the green list has been around for quite a few years. It effectively symbolizes the green light in the traffic light system. And now Immigration New Zealand is going to be bringing in the red light and the orange light as well. Very similar to the traffic light system. So the green means full swing, go. The orange means slow down. And then the red effectively means stop. So the red list. So again, the red list and amber list are two new additions that is coming very soon. Not all occupations will have equal access to the two pathways as mentioned above. Immigration has introduced these risk-based lists to manage immigration fraud and role inflation. So red list is excluded from both new pathways. You can still apply under the current SMC routes if you can claim 6 points. For example, a bachelor's degree or higher, 1.5 times the median wage. So if you're earning 1.5 times the median wage or have a job offer for 1.5 times the median wage, or recognized occupational registration with New Zealand work experience. If you fall under this, you are and you work in a red list occupation, these are the few things to consider there. Now, the amber list can access the skilled work experience pathway, but with stricter requirements. You need at least 5 years of relevant eligible work experience in New Zealand, not overseas, including 2 years at least at 1.2 times the SMC median wage instead of 1.1. So not eligible, amber list is also not eligible for the trades and technicians pathway. Amber list occupations are still eligible for the existing SMC pathways. For example, a bachelor's degree or higher, if you earn or have a job offer at 1.5 times the median wage, or have a recognized registration. So some of these roles include roles within accommodation, food services, generic management roles. So for example, accommodation and hospitality manager, hotel and motel manager, hotel service manager, bed and breakfast, caravan park and camping ground manager, cafe restaurant manager, chef, baker, pastry cook, customer service manager, office manager, retail manager, hospitality, etc., etc. So you can see all of these kinds of roles. This list, most importantly, is reviewed regularly or will be reviewed regularly. So occupations can be added or removed based on how immigration sees these roles. So at any point, they may bring in further roles, they may remove certain roles. So make sure that you check whether or not you are in this list if you perhaps want to apply for residence and are working in, for example, a web administrator role. You need to match the requirements or conditions for the particular amber list of the pathway you're deciding. That is just one example of how this works. But again, all of these roles are included at the moment, and they may or may not change depending on when you apply. So a few other additional updates, other changes that you should know. English tests will be extended from 2 years up to 5 years for applicants who hold a recognized occupational registration. So this is quite a significant benefit for registered professionals like nurses and teachers. If I take the example of teachers, they need to undergo an acceptable English language test to get their registration from the Teaching Council of New Zealand. They may be able to use that same English result for their residence application as well. So this extension does help people in this sort of in this group here of recognized occupational registrations, but it does not apply to everyone. So the second one is the new recognized registration for accountants. So the CPA Australia members who can work as a qualified statutory accountants in New Zealand will now qualify under the SMC registration pathway from August 2026. There's going to be an extension for SMC preparation from 2027 for migrants who are within 12 months of meeting the SMC work experience requirements. They'll be able to extend, and the details of this will be provided at a later date from immigration themselves. It hasn't ultimately been confirmed at the moment, but we are expecting further details coming soon. The fourth is the qualification and bachelor's requirement. So if you claim points for a postgraduate qualification like a level 8 or 9, you must also hold a bachelor's degree. Doctoral degrees, which is a level 10, are not affected by this rule. The only exception is the New Zealand master's degrees claiming 5 points. The last change is the IQA required for overseas qualification. If your qualification was gained overseas and is not on the list of qualifications exempt from assessment, you must get an international qualifications assessment from NZQA to confirm its comparability to the New Zealand standard. So again, if you have a bachelor's degree outside New Zealand and it's not on the list of qualifications exempt, then you need to make sure, is that going to be comparable to the level of a bachelor's degree in New Zealand? So when does this all happen? So in September last year, the government has announced the changes, the 2 new pathways, the increased NZ qualification point system, the reduced skilled work experience, the simplified wage assessment, and in March recently, they confirmed further details. They've added the trades and technicians occupation list. They've introduced the red and amber lists, the wage grace period, the extension of English results or English tests, and the introduction of the CPA Australia registration. Now in August, again, late August of this year, all changes are expected to take effect. Nothing prevents immigration from changing these rules, changing these updates, and it isn't official policy unless immigration publishes those rules. So all of these changes have been slowly phased in to give us a brief idea or an understanding as to what we should expect. But again, until immigration changes them, they are still speculations. So I would suggest keep your eyes peeled on the new changes when they take into effect. So in 2027, the date is still to be confirmed, but again, AEWV extensions may be granted from 2027 onwards. So what should you do if you are currently on an AEWV or planning to move to New Zealand? These changes could significantly affect your pathway to residence. So the right time to plan is before August 2026 and not after. So the first thing I suggest you do is you check, what ANSCO skill level are you currently working in? If you are working in an ANSCO skill level 4 to 5, the new pathways will not apply to you. However, if you earn at least 1.5 times the median wage in an ANSCO skill level 4 to 5 role, you may still qualify under the existing SMC income pathway. The second thing I recommend you do is to check whether or not you meet or are in the red and amber list. So if your occupation is on either list, you will face restrictions. You need to understand what alternative pathways are available for you. The third is to get your IQA done early. Make sure to submit your international qualifications assessment as soon as possible. They do vary depending on how busy they are. I've previously helped people who have gotten their results within 3 months, some within 4 days. My fastest result was in 4 days. So it does give you a bit of a wide range of timeframes there. But if you hold an overseas qualification, start the assessment process now. It can take time and you'll need it before you apply for residence. The last thing I do recommend you do is, if you are interested to ever find out whether you are in fact eligible for residence under the skilled migrant category, or if perhaps you fall under the green list, the straight to residence or work to residence, feel free to book a strategic visa assessment with me. This is where you understand exactly where you sit under the new rules and what your fastest, most secure pathway looks like. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to check the description below. I'll also be including a link to the strategic visa assessment, and I look forward to helping you on your journey to New Zealand.